Hi, I'm Laura Flanders. Today on Grit TV, our special feature this week, the relentlessly curious and passionate high wire artist, Philippe Petit, on achieving the impossible, breaking the rules, and on his heart-stopping walk between the World Trade Towers. And in this week's doc, legendary civil rights activists Angela Davis and Yuri Kuchiyama sit down for a chat. All that and the musical poetry of Tracy Morris. It's all coming up right here, right now on Grit TV.
I have put different families of knots that hold object, knot that bind a rope to itself, all kind of thing, and they are to me the most interesting representative of each family of knots. This is the Prusik knot. It's very ingenious. It's a traveling knot that on another rope, as you can see, that stops traveling the minute you put some tension on the Prusik knot. So basically it's a knot that you can save your life if you fall in a crevasse as you're mountain climbing. You take your shoelaces, you put it with that knot that you have to know around the carrying rope, and then you can lift yourself and then pull on it. And if you have two shoelaces, as you should, then the other is another Prusik knot, and then you can shimmy yourself up. It takes 4 hours, but then you save your life. So this is a mountaineering secret, the Prusik knot. Since I was seeing the exhibit as being very monotonous and perfectly lined up, same size drawings, I thought, okay, I have to wake up people by doing something which is my nature, to break the rule, to be explosive. So I put this one as Q, but actually it was called by the title and the typography of the title, Line Up. I decided that the up should be inclined, and here we have the mirror image of such title. But that's the story of my life, It's very boring if you live in a life where everything is rigidly lining up perfectly, although perfection is part of my life. Also, breaking the rules is part of my life. When I am doing this first step, it's the most difficult step. And I need all my might and all my ability as a wire walker to make this first step. If I do not respect and love the wire for what it is, a live animal, I cannot walk on the wire without having my body and my mind, or my body and my heart and my soul in complete communion. This is the art of wire walking.
He writes, he draws, he rides a unicycle, picks pockets, picks locks, and he's been arrested over 500 times, mostly for street juggling, but once by the NYPD when he finally chose to step off an illegal cable he'd strung between the two World Trade Towers, an act he calls a coup that was the subject of an Academy Award-winning film, Man on Wire. In addition to working on his one-man stage show, Wireless, a show of his drawings, line-up, and rigging knots, and glimpses of a masterclass in collaboration with photographer Victoria Deering is on display through January 16th at the Click Gallery in New York. It brings Philippe Petit to the studios of Grit TV, and I couldn't be happier about that. Philippe, thanks for coming in.
Thank you.
You got to talk to us about that first step.
Well, actually, I have a program called The First Step, which is when I rarely do workshops, to students or whatever. I create the theme, The First Step. So the first step can be anything. It doesn't have to be stepping on a tightrope from the edge of a building. It could be writing your first poem. It could be deciding to stop dressing the way your mother told you to. It could be so many things at many levels. But it is true that relentlessly in my self-taught life, I reface that first step to the point of several times a day, and it comes with what I cherish, which is the artistic challenge for an artist. And if you are not taunted by artistic challenge at least once a day, then you're dead.
Do you remember the first time you thought, ooh, the air, the wire, I want to be up there?
No, it's not that I want to be up there. I was there. 5 years old, I started climbing anywhere. My parents tried to stop me. At 5 years old, I started climbing anywhere, and my parents tried to stop me, but to no avail. At 6 years old, I was smelling the fresh air at the top of trees. I was spending hours unmoving so I could look at squirrels making their nest. And so I had this altitude, this solitude, and this taste for high air from a very young age. It was only natural that throughout many zigzags in my young life, I became a self-taught high wire walker.
You have talked many times about the wire itself, and in that clip you talk about it as a living animal. What makes a great wire? What do you have to do to a wire to be able to walk on it safely, let alone between two trade towers?
Well, first, you asked me to comment on the liveliness of an apparent steel piece of cable.
Yeah.
I would say that any tool for any art is full of life. And you should never take a chisel and a mallet and attacking a block of marble if you're a sculptor without realizing, it takes a lot of respect and humbleness and a lifetime, realizing that all the life of your art is in those tools. You just have to put them to life. Same for the wire. And since, again, I was in a way lucky to not be born in a circus, I had to reinvent everything. And very early, first I did a very strange thing. I decided to take the steel cable as a stage. To me, it's theater in the sky. And secondly, I realized this is not an inert piece of steel. And I learned to know how it's designed, how it's actually built, and how to not tame, but to apprivoiser, you know, to make friend the life of that cable, and to beg for its forgiveness to allow me to step with my big heavy feet on the cable. Now we pass 45 years. 45 years later, after actually I'm try to calculate how many kilometers I did on that cable until today. I did more than the circumference of the Earth, so it would look good in my resume, you know. But anyway, now I know that this life has to be in communion with the life of the artist working. If not, you're going to create a lot of vibration, and the cable, of course, is stronger than a human being, and you'll fly away. Did I answer your question? Maybe not.
I asked one silly part of my question. One silly part of my question that you didn't answer. I used the word safety. Can you ever make a wire safe to walk?
Yes, this is a strange word. In a sense, it should be tear off the dictionary, and in another sense, it's part of what we want, I think. I decided to not to change my life, but to do something very noble, to carry my life across. It's my profession, and I inspire people by doing that. So I would not be able to do so if it were a gamble. Would I survive today? Not me. I value life too much to put question mark above my head under the wire, so, or above the wire. So what I do is I make sure as a preparator of the event that it is very safe. But then, to illustrate the word safety, very often people ask me, so do you work with a net or a safety line, which they use in the circus? Again, because I was not born in the circus, I never thought of it. What a great idea to have a little leash, you know, but I also never saw a bird with a leash, you know, would it still be a bird? So I followed the intuition in my life to walk on the wire with my life, and I created a safety net much stronger than all the nylon you can see and touch. And it's a safety net in my head and in my heart and in my limbs, because it's all mixed up, of course. I will never, and this is not a cute little thing to say in interview, it is true, I will never do that first step without knowing that the last step will be successfully and safely made. So in a sense, and people will laugh at me, I never take a risk, I never take a chance, and I don't live a dangerous life.
With that, we'll play a clip from Man on Wire, Impossible.
And the minute I got out of the subway, climbing the steps, looking at them, I knew that they were no dream. I knew that my dream was destroyed instantly. Impossible, impossible, impossible. It's clearly impossible, not only to walk across, this I have probably hardly thought of it, but to bring almost like a ton of equipment secretly, to rig a wire for hours, to guideline it. It's clearly out of human scale. But something in me pulls me toward touching it.
You don't like to talk about the trade towers, but when I look up at the space where they used to be, that's your space. That's still there.
I love to talk about the Twin Towers. What I'm not inclined to talk is about something that I do not know of or not participated in, which is the end of the Twin Towers. But I saw them being born, I studied them, I married them with my rope, so I have them in my head forever. They still exist.
How do you pick a stage? How do you pick a place to do a walk?
Well, it depends. Very often I am being asked to open a new opera house, so the stage is there. But where do I put my wire is always a matter of a few dancing parameters. There is a technique, engineering concern. I need two very solid anchor points. There is an artistic one. I need to add something to the building that was missing. And in the case of the Twin Towers, we looked at the towers, but I rarely look at the towers. I look at the negative space that the towers had engendered, and I thought somebody has to trespass, in that negative space. So what makes me draw a line in a landscape or add a little twine to a little model I always make before a performance is what will inspire people and what will be a nice frame to this building, an ephemeral bridge for one day. And I usually succeed. I never put a wire at a place where only technique demands that it should be put. This would not be an art for me.
What do you mean it pulls you?
Well, when I say it pulls me, it makes me think of one of the great quality in life that most people frown upon, is that I love the answer to, if you ask Picasso, why do you paint? I love the answer to be, I don't know. I have no choice. You see, this being pulled by destiny or by your own destiny that you create, same thing, is why to stop and analyze the miracle of creating. Create, Let people write about how does he or she create. So I am not the person to really comment, but I love the idea of being pulled. All my life I'm being pulled. Today, as I talk to you, I have many thoughts about my next projects.
Well, let's talk about your next project. What you just said, because of our commercial culture, made me think, just do it, the Nike slogan. I've seen it written that if you had accepted sponsorship from Nike or anyone else, you would by now perhaps have been able to do some of your other dreams, your walk across the Grand Canyon.
No, I would have lost my soul, I would have killed myself, or I would have lived the life of a crawling non-artist creature, comfortably installed in having money in the bank. And that's never, first, this is not life for me in itself. And secondly, again, I never thought of that. What a great idea to look at money piling up instead of living. Well, not for me. So I said no after the Twin Towers to all kind of absurd or semi-absurd proposition of linking my art with a product. I never did any commercial in my life. I will never say I walk on the wire because of the beer so-and-so, even if I love that beer. So anyway, and I lost your question in my gallopade, but anyway.
You gave a masterclass for the first time this year at my partner Elizabeth's place, Slam, in Brooklyn. What did people sign up for? Were they wanting to become masters of the wire?
The beauty of it is they didn't know. I mean, sure, they didn't know what they signed for, but I made a little questionnaire because I wanted to choose in some way my students. I had got a lot of application, as you can imagine, and I wanted to focus on people who had a sense of poetry, who love theater arts or performing arts, and even if they are not performers, and actually, I think all the people who signed in and who I choose didn't know, but they knew it will be unique. It will be unheard of. If you want to learn how to walk a tightrope, there are dozens of circus schools. Go there, don't bother me. That's unelegant what I just said, but it's a way of saying this was not that, obviously.
What did they tell you?
Although I taught them, I didn't really tell them how to walk on a wire. What I did, and I said that in plain English the first day, the first minute, is I opened a door to my world. And I am not a wire walker. A wire walker works in the circus 360 days a year. And me, I draw, as you explained, I do so many things in so many directions, although for me, it's all connected. So I wanted to invite those people for 2 days to smell the unique world of a autodidact kid, because I still see myself as a kid. I mean, look at that, I'm so, feverish when I talk about my activities, and I am young at heart, I will never get old. So I think that astonished people, and of course, we did actually carry a balancing pole, we did hours on a little rope, little cable, a real high wire, but they knew from the beginning it was going to be much more than to get a little bit of advice on how to walk a high wire.
And what did they say afterwards?
Well, I received letters from all those people, and they all of them said, "You changed my life." So what a beautiful compliment.
You'll give classes again. I know people will want to know.
I am dying to do it. Even one day I like to open a school of performing arts. And I know I would like to continue my relationship with Elizabeth Streb and a great space called SLAM in Williamsburg, Brooklyn, where a special cable had been designed by me and built up and is waiting for either whenever I want to practice or for the next masterclass. So there will be very soon a next masterclass in that great space.
Right now in New York, there is a wonderful show of photographs from the masterclass and drawings by you of knots. What is it for you to draw a rope? You talk about it beautifully.
Well, I breathe rope. I am rope. So of course, as a young artist, I started at 6 years old to learn how to draw, and it stayed all my life. And now as a mature artist, I hope I continue to love to draw, but I don't draw anything. I draw things that touch me or things that actually are me, such as knots that I use in my rigging actions when I prepare a high wire walk. So that's what this exhibit is drawing on paper with pencil of several knots, and I give a little note about the history or how to tie them, to interest.
Do you have a favorite knot?
Yes, I like simplicity. And when I have an array of solutions to choose from, I always like to choose the pleasing and elegant and simple solution. So in knots, there are very complicated knots, and there are some that are very simple. I like the square knot.
I know you have some rope with you.
Oh yeah, I always have. I travel with a little cord, and actually Leonardo da Vinci, see, it's not new, has found out a ratio in a human being, unless you are a very small person or a giant, is that if you extend your arm like this straight, and if you put your nose to exactly the other direction, from the tip of your nose to the tip of your finger is exactly 1 meter. Don't ask me why, but it works. Okay, so that's nice. You can measure things as you go through life, and I can do magic trick with this. The knot I was talking about is one of the simplest knot. It's called the square knot. And then to know, if you know about knots, because I meet people in life, so I'm not expert, I never pronounce the word expert because you're always learning. And I do that, and I say untie it. And if the human being in front of me, the expert in knots, start doing like this, I know they know nothing about knot, because the way to capsize, to untie a square knot is to go like this and then to chase the knot away, almost like a magic trick.
I've learned many very important things, but I want to learn one more thing. And I know I'm just beginning to learn, but I've heard you talk about approaching the impossible.
But you see, the impossible is a human invention. We have a lot of those things to prevent us to fly away. And we were told, in school, oh no, you cannot fly, you cannot dig tunnel to the center of the earth, you cannot certainly walk on the moon. Well, you see, the impossible is not impossible. So the impossible seems to be by education, we have made it a mountain or a wall of thick granite. And I love the fact that this is total lie. And you can dig a hole in a wall of thick granite. You just have to be a mad person and spend a lifetime with a little tool or blow it open, whatever. So the impossible, I refuse. Again, another word that I would not have in my personal dictionary if I were writing it myself.
So as simple as one step at a time? Just take it slow?
Well, one step at a time is a giant event at a time. I would say, look at a block of rock, and it's made of little particles, and if you take one, it's called a grain of sand. Now, a grain of sand, you can make it fly. You can impose your will to that. So it's a grain of sand at a time, and then later on, yes, a step at a time.
Philippe Petit has been my guest here on Grit TV. We'll have a lot more information about the gallery show, the masterclasses, and his books at our website, grittv.org.
On pensait tous que, évidemment, il est possible qu'il tombe. Hein. On y a tous pensé, mais on n'y croyait pas. On y pensait, mais on n'y croyait pas.
Our documentary of this week tells the story of 20th century social change revealed through the friendship of two of the most influential civil rights activists of our time. This conversation between the legendary Angela Davis and Nobel Peace Prize nominee Yuri Kochiyama is stitched together from videos taken over the course of 13 years, but it takes in the history of a century. Mountains That Take Wing was realized by another cross-cultural set of collaborators, filmmakers C.A. Griffith and H.L.T. Kwan, and it's available for showing in your community. Want to find out how? Or if you've got a documentary of your own, pitch it to us by posting a link at our Facebook page. That's facebook.com/GritTV.
But I was that Angela Davis everybody was organizing around and talking about.
The most powerful weapon is truth. Go out and tell truth everywhere.
Where do you think it has to begin?
Well, I think it begins wherever you are, right?
Yeah, right. Feeling on the West Coast was a lot of fear and hate. We had no idea whether it's only going to be for a couple of weeks or it might be a couple of years. But all the Japanese Americans call it concentration camp.
We lived in the most segregated city in the country, in Birmingham, Alabama.
You've got to keep the white and the black separate.
Some of my earliest memories are the sounds of bombs going off. We were not allowed to live or even walk on the other side of the street.
Oh my goodness. You know, we're taught about, what is it, freedom, justice, and what? Equality or something?
Democracy,
Yeah,
all of that.
and I always believed it.
I didn't become political till late, and actually I didn't become political till we moved to Harlem.
When I was 11 years old, we formed a children's interracial discussion group.
In the South?
Yes, yes. And as a result of our meetings, they burned the church. They burned a portion of the church.
That wasn't the church of the four.
No. The church I'm referring to is the First Congregational Church. And the 4 girls were killed at the 16th Street Baptist Church.
Yeah,
The FBI has issued a warrant for the arrest of Angela Yvonne Davis, black communist militant.
I'm representing the Shayla Movement Club of the Communist Party.
It was a very dangerous period. He did come because he said he wanted to meet the Hibakshas. Rap on the door, and there he was. And it took 30 years to locate the guy, and we finally got pictures he took of Malcolm in an apartment with Japanese people sitting next to him. And then when he did come over, he said, I will write to you. And he certainly kept his promise. I have 11 postcards from 9 countries.
Is it in the autobiography?
You know, there's so many things not in his autobiography.
Many people who are against the war in Iraq today don't think about Iraqi people at all. There's no sense of connection. Campaign to abolish prisons isn't only about prisons. It's about education. It's about healthcare. It's about housing, jobs. It's about an end to racism.
I think you should be proud that all of you are people who support political prisoners.
People know almost who all those big names were, but not the women
Who did the work, who did the real work. Without the initiative that you took, we couldn't talk about Malcolm's important relationship with Asians and Asian Americans.
This story is not recorded in the places where people learn the history of this country.
Teeny feet, rock, lay a double, socks. Teeny feet, rock, lay a double, socks. The pop is like piping a many-colored loose lace up, racing toe, keeps up with fancy freaky, slick slide, just pressed, recently weaved, hair, jeans oversized, jeans like jeans over, jeans oversized, but like her hips are black thighs, making guy side for millennia, topped by an attractive jacket. Her suit's not for flagging flunkies, junkies, or punk homies on the stroll. Her hands mobile phones, her Hitler hands mobile phones. Her hands mobile thrones of today's urban goddess. Clinking rings, up, dragging fingers. No need to be modest. One or two gap teeth are cool. Sport gold initials. Down to get to her name, just check from the side and please. Show multidimensional, multi-me, multidimensional shrimp earrings. Frame her cinnamon face. Crimson with a compliment if a comment hits the right place. Don't step to the plate with your datelines from 88. Don't step to the plate, don't step to the plate with your datelines from 88. Spare your simple, fragile feelings with the same sense that you came. Color woman variation, you rework the French twist. With crinkle cut platinum frosted bangs from a spray cans miss, from a spray cans miss, from a spray cans. Never this, never this, never this, never this, never this. She insists, no, you can't touch this. And if piss be decked, fist up boys who must persist. She's the one, she's the one, she's the one, right? She's the one, she's the one, she's the one, whine it. She's the one, give a fire, smoking gun, of which raps are spun. Songs are sung, the bells are rung, rock jerks, the clock, pistols cock. I wanted advantage block, I wanted advantage block, I wanted advantage block, well stacked, she's ja. It's all about you, girl. It's all about you and living in your world. It's all about you, it's all about you, girl. It's all about you and living in your world.
That's it for today's program. You can find everything you've seen at our website, grittv.org, and sign up there for our email list. You can also follow me or Grit TV on Twitter and find us on Facebook, where you can propose your own videos for us to show. Keep your contributions coming. It's thanks to you we're able to broadcast commercial-free on Free Speech TV, Dish Network Channel 9415, Direct TV 348, and newly coast to coast on Bridges TV. Tell your friends about our program. Thanks for watching.